Right. 18. I think 18, we're good with 18. Let's see what's happening. Right. 18, 19. Which component reduces the amount of packet handling inside packet handling time? It reduces packet handling time inside the switch. Uh, I know this. Uh, that is the component responsible for reducing packet handling time, that one. You know, the integrated what integrated circuit. I'm not so sure about AS, but it's an integrated circuit which helps with packet handling and consequentially speeding up process packet handling basically. Uh, Number 20, some answers I just know. Not much explanations, but you also just have to know. Refer to the exhibit. A switch receives a layer 2 frame that contains MAC address, that one. Source and the destination, that one. Place the switch step in the order they okay. So place the switch steps in the order they okay. What are we doing here? What are the steps? Answer report. So what occurs first? The switch adds the source MAC address to the address table. Because the destination is not known, the switch forwards the frame out of all ports except the port through which the frame was received. All right, let me take this opportunity to go through the process of frame forwarding. Process of frame forwarding, I can explain it using this. Okay, let's go back. Right, so if I have a switch, if I have three devices with MAC addresses A, B, C, and this is our MAC table. Initially, it's empty. Frame forwarding goes like this. If I'm sending information from A to C, what happens? Our frame gets to the switch. Switch looks at the source incoming of the incoming frame and the source MAC address and the incoming port. It records it in the MAC address table if it's not there. So automatically we have, this is port number 1, port number 2, port number 3. In the table, we have port number 1, we have an address A. Then after processing, it also tries to find C in the table. It does not find C. If it does not find C, it broadcasts. That is called an unknown unicast frame. It broadcasts. If it broadcasts, this one is dropped because the destination is C, not B. This one is accepted. That's how frame forwarding happens. If C chooses to respond, then C is responding to A. Frame paranosvika panapa, it gets processed. Port number 3, pane device number C. That's the learning process. Then we are sending to A. A is already in our table, therefore we forward directly to A. It's a very simple thing. It will help you with a small understanding. Kuti question ikauya ichibvunza nezve-frame forwarding, frame MAC address learning and all, you will know what exactly is happening. I think that answers question number 20. Number 21, what information is added to the switch table from incoming frames? Incoming frames, information added, source MAC address, incoming port. Yeah, this one is easy. I think someone had the answer A. Voila. Number 21, A makes sense. Number 22, which switch method ensures that the incoming frame is error-free? Only one error-free. Store and forwarding, D. Do you know how about that?
But yeah.
Yeah, but D. Wow. Number 23, right. From experience, the questions aya ndanosumudza mhepo aya akanzi refer to exhibit aya chamaona zvino ayo aya anenge akaposa zvavo ndiri kuona panapa aya but mamwe maexhibit anouya anoita kunge uri kuita lab real exhibit. Be very prepared for my questions emaexhibits aya. How many broadcast domains? Ndataura kuti broadcast domain, every link parouter is a broadcast domain. Saka mangana aya makatarisa mangana tisina kuenda kumaansa. Pane munhu aisa ansa apa ari kuiona ku 8. Okay, yeah. I was at 8. Right, so I see 8 broadcast domains. 1, this one, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Voila. Ndakabvunza kuti pauya A, B, C, D. So answer is C up. Under which two occasions should an administrator disable DTP whilst managing a local area network? Dynamic trunking protocol, it allows us to automatically negotiate between panema links edu. Very useful kana uri negotiate for trunking. However, for security reasons, ma 1 DTP, because if an attacker comes in from one end, it will end in a DTP. Anokwanisa to manipulate that link so that they create a trunk. Create a trunk, then they will be able to intercept traffic. So that said, under which two conditions should an administrator disable DTP? Number 1, DTP is a Cisco proprietary protocol. When connecting to another non-Cisco switch, then we have to disable DTP. Number 2, when a neighbor, so this answer is correct. A, when a neighbor switch uses a DTP dynamic mode, dynamic auto, no need to disable if the other side is a trunk. When a switch uses DTP mode dynamic, if the other switch is using trunk, no need to disable. On links that should not, voila, this one. This is the answer. Every link receives trunking, then you should disable DTP. But kana ichishandisa trunking, then that's not a problem. Problem ndeyekuti link rine access. Rikangoti access zvoreva kuti paport access panongonosvika attack ipapo ndo paanotanga kumanipulate napo. But kana rine trunk, it's not an issue. So for DTP, it should be disabled for those two. 25. Which two characteristics describes the native VLAN? Native VLAN untagged traffic. That's the first answer, I think. A. Native VLAN will be untagged across the trunk link. Then the VLAN is necessary for remote management of a switch. We never told you this. High priority traffic such as voice uses native VLAN. Voice uses voice VLAN, not native. The other answer is D. Explain D. Explain D. Ndiana D. Same as D. Sharon. Why D?
Say indashandisa elimination. The one I was sure of is A. I turned out to eliminate.
But can you explain D?
Okay, native VLAN anditi
Yeah.
contain a list of allowed VLANs that
Yeah.
are allowed to pass that are allowed to communicate through that interface here.
Oh, yeah, no. All right. This one is very simple. It's also very important. Native VLAN. Pamcheta ma configurations. I hope you're practicing my labs because kwatakuenda ku my labs they're very much useful. Akatikoshera because almost every course ine malabs ari yakasimba. VLAN ine malab akasimba. Inter ine malabs. Switchport ine malabs. DHCP ine malabs. Wireless LAN malabs. Ukoko malabs anga kusubnetting cheto. Kuno kumalabs ega ega musaskipe. Spend more time on them. So Pamcha configure issue to do is with native VLAN here. You realize kuti ndikaisa maswitch apa ndikaconfigure native VLAN pa port here ndoregera kuconfigure native VLAN pa port here, what happens? Question. Kana kuti ndoconfigure native VLAN 99 panapa ndoisiya isino configure zvoroti inenge ishandisa default 1, what happens? Or ndoconfigure native VLAN 99 kunoku ndoconfigure native VLAN 100, what happens? Are you getting what I'm saying? Answer here yakanzi the native VLAN provides a common identifier to both ends of a trunk. What they are meaning basically ndeyekuti both ends the trunk kana uchiconfigure native VLAN, the identifier is common, is the same. Saka ukaconfigure 99 kunoku futi unofanira 99. Ukasangoisa 99 you see my message anenge akanzi native VLAN mismatch, native VLAN mismatch, SSLow, native VLAN mismatch. Ndo parikubuda answer ichi yekuti the native VLAN provides a common identifier. Because the identifier ikasangoita common yato native VLAN mismatch, then communication yatodako. Very important. Zika maita akandikana kusuita malab ikaka. On a switch that is configured with multiple VLANs, which command will remove only VLAN 100? This one is wrong. Inobvisa SA. Yakanzi delete flash. Then needs no switch port access. Yeah, I remove a VLAN ish. Remove a VLAN assigned to a port. No switch port trunk. Remove allowed VLANs for trunk. No VLAN 100. Remove a VLAN 100 chat. Simple. Refer to the exhibit. Administrators reviewing port and VLAN assignments on switch S2. It notices that 2 Gig Ethernet interfaces are not included in the outputs. Matrankai. Why would the interfaces be missing from the output? Right. Ukaita show VLAN brief, it gives you my ports, nema VLAN associations. My ports are associated to which VLAN. Ukaona my ports asiri kubuda, it's most probably my trunk. Because to show my trunk, you need another command. I think show interfaces trunk. Then also show the ports that we shall for trunking. So you can see I'm a port and that's rude. It's obviously my trunk guy. And the papa told my trunk as well. You don't know my answer. Answer dear. That one I know from experience. So basically, show VLAN brief. It shows you my VLANs, my ports. My ports are assigned to my VLANs. Then show interface trunk, show my trunk. My ports are assigned to my trunk. My ports are assigned to my trunk. I would show VLAN brief. A network contains multiple VLANs spanning multiple switches. What happens? Can we remove this? Right. A network contains multiple VLANs. What happens when a device in VLAN 20 sends a broadcast Ethernet frame? Chibopinda itoone kumamessage uko. Kwarai zvese boy. Anombokumoresa. Pindirai tinzwe. Logically, only devices in the VLAN. Yes. So VLAN, it segments a network, and there's a broadcast on VLAN 20, a broadcast on VLAN 20 shit. So all devices and all VLANs, no devices in VLAN 20, no only devices in VLAN 20 system frame. Okay, makes sense. Number 29, refer to the exhibit. All workstations are configured correctly in VLAN 20. So all devices and VLAN 20, okay? Workstations that are connected to switch 1 are not able to send traffic to workstations on switch 2. What could be the problem? So connection ish is not working, but SR on VLAN 1. All right. Tinokuenda kuma-answer 2Z1. What could be our answer here? So show interfaces is just navases, switchport enabled, right? A administrative mode trunk. So gig Ethernet no fanangere trunk, so correct. Operational mode trunk, correct. Encapsulation, correct. Negotiation, correct. Access mode, VLAN 1. Okay, correct. It can be default as well. Trunking native mode, if I now configure from the default, correct. VLANs enabled 2 to 10. Apa ndo pane problem apa. Problem yedu ndeyekuti VLANs enabled patrungiro hapana twend apa. So ngese kana pasina twend, VLAN allowed basically. Twend haipapo. So meaning no for even if you configure VLANs ako ese, I think ndo answer. VLAN twend allow VLAN twend. What could be to remedy? A, definitely A. Allow VLAN twend on the trunk link. So trick yekureader information iri kubva mumashow commands. I think takambozitaura kuti mashow commands when troubleshooting, they will be very much important. You need to be able to interpret information yeshow command. Ukaisa show run, unofanira kuziva kuti line iri rinondibudisira chakati. Unofanira kutoziva kuti rinofanira kubuda rakaita chakati. For example, the basics dzataita SSNA1. Ukaisa show run, ndotoziva kuti enable secret ndinonoiwana apa, ndikaishaya problem. Bhana ndinoriwana apo, ndikashaya problem. Mapasswords ndikamashaya problem, ndikaona sina kuencryptwa problem. From experience, you are learning how to interpret. I'm sure munoisa kuiziva kuti ndikatoona pasina default gateway pa-SVI, ndikaona pasina source IP address, something is wrong. I think something is common experience iyoyo. So pamunoita malabs, also learn to go beyond an show run. Go for show VLANs, show VLAN brief, show interfaces, show IP interface brief, show IP interfaces. Kana takuendawo kurouting ariko mashow commands. In fact, mashow commands akawandisa. Learn to use them. Amunenge maita go through. Learn to use them. Then interpret information iripo pashow command kuti inorevei. So that kana wakutroubleshooter, the next time you go for the show command, you know kuti instinct inotokudza kuti something is missing up because you know kuti show command rinofana kubuda rakaita sei. Number 30. What happens to switch ports after the VLAN to which they are assigned is deleted? Answer 0 default. Number 30. C. If you remove a VLAN from our ports, yes, another 0 VLAN 1, which is the default VLAN. Okay. The ports are assigned to VLAN 1, the default VLAN. What happens to switch ports after the VLAN to which they are assigned is deleted? Is A
So,
both and this part.
anobva ava dormant, anobva ava disabled mapotsi iwayo.
Not D.
Pane mwanza ndiri kuona pana.
Anostopa communication.
Yeah.
And they become disabled, yeah. Up until watozoasainiwa futi another VLAN kuti anomboita automatically deport.
Hataisa maansa 3 apa. Inenge kuti C, the right one. What happens to switch ports?
See, wrong.
After
Yes,
the
yeah.
VLAN.
C ndairamba anyway.
Wairamba.
B na C ndedze.
Bina C dzemunyori.
Yeah, because ipapa between
Nduze
A
proof
and
ya
D,
C
but
Tony. Nduze proof yekuti C ndeyekunyepa. Tinzwa.
Apa arikunzi adelitwa kana kuitwa disabled ka.
aiwa
VLAN ndo radilitwa.
Switch ready.
VLAN ndo radilitwa.
Port
Saka
ready.
apa until razoasainiwa to another VLAN rinobva rava disabled port iroro. Up until rasainiwa to another VLAN.
Port ready tarasainila ku VLAN 10 iri. Then fataenda no delete VLAN 10 iyi pa switch. Handozutaura question. Hatidzokere ku VLAN 1.
Aiwa hatidzokere ku VLAN 1. You have to manually set it to VLAN 1 for the time being. What deleted, that port is disabled. It stops functioning.
Okay.
Aiwa apa ndazvanzofunga. I can put my lunch man on that. I can put my lunch man on.
Yeah, C, I'm doubting it now. C is not the answer. So C, B, they are not answers. Here, what is disabled? Already ports stop communicating.
Ndoti D.
Why?
Sokuti right, tadelete VLAN redu handiti. And yes, zvataurwa naLloyd, obviously the ports become disabled and there's no traffic that's also flowing through your maports acho. So I guess kuti kunyatso-kudedemura D ndo inobva yanyatsokuti chika.
Right. Yeah, but at the same time, manje D wacho kuti stop the communication, that means the port is disabled.
Yes.
Uya rutaura kuti tadisable akatova tastopa communication. Saka D ndo inoita answer.
Aiwa, but apa pari kudiwa chinhu chinotongoitika ipapo automatically ka tadelete VLAN. What happens next? Not the third step. This is the first. This is the second step in it after tadelete VLAN.
Mirai makadaro. Inamba chikwe. Mirai makadaro. Number 30. Nepedze nharo izvi. Apa ndima doubts apa. Number 30. I was so sure, but to my explanation to you, I was so sure that remains as a default. Any ports that are not moved to an active VLAN cannot communicate with other hosts after the VLAN is deleted. They must be assigned to an active VLAN or their VLAN must be created. Yeah, answer idiwa kumwana. Aye.
Andachikwa mari yangu.
Mari yaenda baba. Lunch money go.
Tumira mari sha.
Lunch money go ni sema yeko kesha.
Ndimaona paya pane chitauro techitemba Sharon ndi baba wedu pana. Patsori po.
Apaita baba wedu. So tatichi tika delete VLAN. communication is also down. All right. I get it. Naenda pabasa. We can say my charger. Just a minute. All right. And the drone. Delete VLAN. Everything stops. Takwenda pa number 31. Match the IEEE 2.1 VLAN tag field with the description. Yeah, maansa angakaiswapo. Kavila kaeto 2.1 QR kwako ndo kanoederwa pa frame ramunoziva vana preamble nana destination mark source mark length type then FCS kokupesera pane kaarea kanosvika unoederwa tag iro rine mafields aya. So basically we're being asked to identify those fields. And I think I can identify all that on my side one. Number 32, refer to the exhibit. In what switch mode switch mode should port 01 be assigned if Cisco best practices are being used? Inotsvankira. Chii chiri kuitika panapa? I need one word answer. Chii chiri kuitika panapa? With respect
Yo,
to VLANs are
all right. I think that's legacy.
like
Aiwa. Rutono stick.
inter-VLAN iri kuitika.
Inter-VLAN, yeah.
Then match the DTP mode and its function. Yeah, mamodes answer data. Dynamic, desirable, auto, non-negotiate, trunk. So nemamodes aya ari very easy. Ndikaisa trunk kuno uku kune desirable, link rinoita trunk. Ndikaisa trunk uku kune auto, trunk. Ndikaisa trunk uku pane non-negotiate. What happens? Panozoitika. Then ndikaisa access uku apo panozvinoitika. Access ne inoita access ne inoita access. .dtp basically. It allows us to automatically negotiate depending on one end of the link rinochi. Non-negotiate requires manual configuration. Okay, so non-negotiate because a triangle, you have to manually configure a trunk the other side. That's basically how my modes are function. Therefore, port 11 on a switch assigned to VLAN 30. If the command no switch port access VLAN 30 is entered on the first Ethernet 11 interface, what will happen? Switch port access VLAN, it assigns VLAN 30 to port 11. Switch port access, you don't assign a VLAN to a port. So to get no, you got to visit VLAN per port. Which answer speaks to that? VLAN will be deleted. This is wrong. VLAN will not delete no VLAN. Mind. A port 11 will be returned to VLAN 1. Iyo nogona joka kwanza yajisa lunch man. Answer ichiga. An error message will be displayed. An error message not displayed. Port will shut down. I think by elimination, answer the issue. Answer E, do you know gonna excuse me. Do you know gonna any confusion? Zangu zekuti zvinhu VLAN 1. So Allow me to talk about for the sake of understanding them so wrong. What happens to switch ports after VLAN to which they are assigned is deleted? Yeah. What's the difference between question number 30 and question number 31? Number 34. Good morning, Baba. Analyze my question now. After next time, you will never be lost. Question number 30 again, if VLAN associated is deleted. Number 34, VLAN association removed, not deleted. Upper association removed that. Association removed. What's the difference between my questions? I'm not going to should be together. Where's the name Soro Mango Panda answer number 30? I was actually answering number 34. What's the difference between 30 and 34? Try. Try the reason. Number one, we should be together. Yeah. So the driver switch up. The assign a port E with VLAN 10. How do I assign port E with VLAN 10? Do you know one? Do you create a VLAN? They create a VLAN 10. Then the associator near switch ports access VLAN 10. DRAM interface. This is interface number one. DRAM interface number one. I associate VLAN 10 to that interface. There are two things that can happen. The guy can delete a kuno. VLAN and create it. Communication dollar. No communication. Or the guy can visa association ish. She got port E. I would just say VLAN 1. Are you getting this?
Sir. Mati, I think come again.
Right. That's it. Dine switch rango. Tudakura assign VLAN 10. Port E to assign VLAN 10. So the process you to assign a port E VLAN 10. Number one, we create VLAN 10. And we test. Then two, to assign a switch mode accessor. The switch mode access is interface mode E. Copy them interface E. The entry interface zero to associate the interface in VLAN with switch mode access VLAN 10. Using my commands, it means now port E run VLAN 10. But now my questions are good and equity. One, cannot delete a VLAN kunoko that I created. What happens? Or two, tikawe aba to no switch port. Basically removing association. What happens? So tika delete kunoko. Number one. No communication because it's a remove a VLAN. Communication of adult. However, this association ish. Then VLAN is no move from 10 to VLAN number 1, which is the default VLAN. Do you see the difference?
Yeah.
So I think brain zangu paragraph number 30, I was probably picturing this. And I think it explains almost everything. The questions are very tricky. No, what I think are going on. Okay. And number 35, which commands displays encapsulation type, voice VLAN ID, and the access mode VLAN for an interface. Encapsulation type, VLAN ID. Show command here. VLAN briefer is one encapsulation now. Trunk footer ID.
That's B.
Which one works for 2? B. Yeah, show MAC address table. Yeah, I think maybe eliminator wasn't. Yeah. Maybe eliminator answer no good happen because I'm so sure of it. This one I wasn't sure. There's no quiz paper up and that's easy, right? Show interfaces, switchport. Masho commands I mentioned here. Or as I'm going, it seems nini my registers and brain are shimo addresses. Show some show commands. 36. Technician is programming switch 3 to manage voice data through port 20. What, if anything, is wrong with this configuration? Kana pane voice, pane
D, you see.
the command used to assign the voice VLAN to the switch port is incorrect. The command used to assign the voice VLAN. Deliver voice VLANs to the switch port access VLAN 35. VLAN 35. Alright. Voice VLAN 150. Command Russian is going to assign VLAN 150. The switch port access. It's wrong, Baba. Yeah.
Company is
I thought
switchport voice VLAN.
voice.
Hey, reference voice. All right. Yeah. It's wrong. Answer D. Answer D. Everyone on the switch port voice VLAN. Then 37, 36, 37. Which 4 steps are needed to configure a voice VLAN on a switch port? 4 steps. Answer Mangana. 8. Voice VLAN 1. Treated at 0 first. Assign the voice VLAN to the switch port. This is correct.
Yes.
Activate spanning tree at non-bonus spanning
No.
tree. You will have another usage. Number 1, I'm not so sure. To configure the interfaces. I am not trying to make voice VLAN. This is out. D. Ensure that the voice traffic is trusted. This is true. Command the
Yes.
machine swapper. Check it out. Do it runs the
It's QS trust.
trust, yes. But theater quality of service, theater is also an COS, what is on a QoS. I think it should be 603. Then 8, a voice VLAN, yes. Number 3, configure the switch port interface with sub interfaces. Assign a data VLAN to the switch port. Data VLAN, configure the switch port in access mode. Yeah, don't find access mode. It says the answer. Assign the data VLAN. About the eliminator. Assign a data VLAN to the switch port. Which 4 steps are needed to configure a voice VLAN? Data VLAN and data data. Yeah, and the data VLAN and voice VLAN. So I think my answer is 1, 2, 3, 4.